Hi, Godzilla Medicine PlayStation and Medic Maniac YouTube. And while I'm making my different videos and talking about things, I just wanted to continue, while I've got my train of thought going, to talk about other things related to motorsport and games, motorsport games. It was interesting listening to Ruffle Waffle's idea of Legera, which was his idea for a motorsport game. And listening to what he was saying, I was struck by some omissions. And it's not the only person to have not talked about anything like this. I mean, Gran Turismo developers didn't bother either. So if I go into World Circuits, and in the poor excuse for a single player game, we can find the different races, and obviously I've been using this car on this one, but I could be using any car on any track because they're all like it. None of them have bothered giving you the option, giving the player the option if they would like to have practice laps or qualifying, if they would like to simulate a race day on a track. So let's just imagine that from my previous video that people have, because the game has helped them to teach them how to build and tune, and that means set up your car and to paint your car. And you are proud of your creation. It's your custom signature creation. You've poured your very passion into it. Because you're passionate about motorsport, you love motorsport, that's why you bought this game. Imagine that. And you get to a track, and imagine that the developers cared so much about a passion for motorsport that they gave you the options to simulate a race weekend or whatever it is, with practice laps, with qualifying, imagine that, eh? Imagine qualifying with day-night cycles that you can choose, and you know, with what do they call it, you know, weather that is changes and stuff. I can't remember the correct term for it. F1 World Grand Prix had it on an N64, by the way. Imagine that you could have practice laps and warm-up laps and qualifying. But no, what we get is, it doesn't matter what race we pick, we get a particular grid position given to us that we can't affect. And then it's up to us to catch and pass the opposition cars in, you know, however many designated laps are given to us. Now, yes, we've got custom race, but custom race does not give you any options for a race weekend. Custom race does not give you any qualifying options. Custom race gives you grid positions that you can start from. You can start from the back, or you can start at the front, or anywhere in between with custom race. But it does not give you qualifying options. Nobody seems to care, not only about setting up your car for whatever track, nobody seems to care about qualifying. The other thing that F1 World Grand Prix on the N64 did, by the way, we're talking Nintendo 64 here, it gave you the option to start with your choice of how many laps fuel in your car. So before a race on F1 World Grand Prix, what I would do is I would calculate how many laps I was doing, what pit strategy I had chosen, and therefore how many laps worth of fuel goes in my car. If there were any alterations to that during a race, like for example it started raining, or for example, somebody had collided into my car and caused me problems, or I had had an accident, you know, and I was the cause of an accident. If there were any variables within that, I would then have to work out changes to that strategy mid-race, much like any other driver in real life. But Gran Turismo, it can't be bothered with that. So even if I go into custom race and I set up a race and I choose a grid position, I don't get to choose how much fuel goes in the car before the race starts. And I just find it completely bizarre that here we are on a PlayStation 5 and I'm not getting these options and no one cares whether they're there or not. I mean, I get the fact that by a live service model and by the fact that the developers are probably at the behest of the investment people, you know, as I previously mentioned, I get the fact that nobody cares about single player anymore. You know, if the internet is shut down for this game, we'll be stuck with Music Rally. I get that. But, you know, this is supposed to be a game to embrace a community that's passionate about motorsport, and the vibe and feel that I'm getting from it is it's more designed for the crowd who just want to pick up a controller or get behind a wheel and just jump in a car and just drive without actually putting any thought into their race, without actually putting any passion into their car. And then the end result of that is you get a lot less passion out of this game. And I can't understand why that is the case on a PlayStation 5. I used to be under the impression all those years ago, back in the 80s, when I was sat in my bedroom looking at a black and white portable telly screen with Jeff Crammond's revs, that games would be great one day. And here I am in my adult life, in my lounge, with my HD telly and my PS5, saying, where's the passion gone? Does no one care? I think by the look and feel of racing games and how they've gone with the downfall of Forza Motorsport, and yes, I was very tempted when they started talking about Forza Motorsport. I was very tempted to go and get an Xbox and Forza Motorsport, and I just thought, why? It's not going to be that good, and hey ho, it's turned out to be not that good, because it seems that in the motorsport community of, you know, publishers and developers, they've gone downhill and in fact fallen off a cliff. I can hear, you know, on YouTube that people who have PCs say that's where it's at. And indeed, that looks to be where it's at. I don't have a PC. And for ease of gaming and also for having physical copies, at the moment, I prefer consoles. But I'm looking at the games and I'm wondering if we'll ever get the passion back. Because I don't think people care about teaching majority of the people how to build and paint and set up a car. I don't think majority of the games are going to care about if the people who really are passionate about motorsport get that experience of a race weekend and being able to pour their passion into their game. I don't think they care about that at all. I think what they care about is the live service model and putting out patches to give people weekly challenges to keep them playing. But when you look at what's being offered, is there any wonder that the YouTube base and the community doesn't talk about the passion of building and setting up cars and painting, because this is what they're being offered and this is what they're being fed. And I find it extremely sad. Anyway, just the ramblings of me. Take care.